Okay, it's recording.
Okay, so that's then the introduction. What I thought to do is, this program, what we do out here, we are involved in wildlife care. That's wildlife management and their well-being, both ecologically as well from the veterinary side. And we started a program some years ago, which is called under the EcoLife umbrella. And it's this particular one for the vets is called Vets in the Wild. And that is geared towards veterinary students, pre-vet students, vet tech students, and students that are simply in this line and interested in it. And this Vets in the Wild program is not, I would say there's no two ones that are very much identical, because we integrate the practical stuff we do in the bush with the theoretical stuff. So it's very much hands-on. We've got a big, excuse me, we've got a big safari vehicle, which I will show you in due course, that we travel around with. So we go to different biomes, we go to different parks over a period of 22 days. And at the end, the students write a little essay and they get graded, and that is graded by myself through the university, and the students then receive a transcript of 6 credits. So this is a 6 credit program. If you want to see more about this, there's the website, ecolife.co.za, and you can learn more about it. So what we do, there you see the vehicle that we go with. It's like a hotel on wheels. It's got fridges, it's got tents, it's got chairs, table, so water. So sometimes you need to deal with an animal in distress out there in the sticks, and then you go there and you need to stay, maybe 1 day, maybe 2 days. Well, we can do it right there. So we're always ready and prepared. It doesn't happen on a regular basis, but it has happened before, that we simply had to hang out on the sticks. But we're equipped totally to do that with a vehicle of that nature. So we focus also quite a bit to go to local communities. That's people out there in the bush that live in grass, thatched huts with mud walls, and have a very basic, close to the soil lifestyle. They've got animals, they've got dogs, they've got cats, they've got cattle, they've got goats, but they never get any veterinary support. So we go out to these communities and we provide them with a free and voluntary veterinary support. So when we pitch with that brown safari bus, it's a buzz in the community. When they see this thing, they already know we must get together, and they go to a central spot. That's the old general dealer, and right on his stoop, we set up tables, and everybody brings their dogs, like you can see there. This fellow here in the corner, he doesn't seem to be too happy to be there. And it's a festive atmosphere, and we all pitch in and help. Our local veterinarian that goes with us, he supervises, and the students all get the opportunity to do real practical stuff under his guidance. And that is stuff which these people would never have otherwise experienced or received. As kids, they bring some puppies, and these puppies need to be checked for possibilities of fleas. They also need to be vaccinated. So it's a big party atmosphere when we pitch. You guys can see the slides, okay? You just shake your head. Everything is clear. Good. Thank you. All right. There's a somewhat unhappy cat at this point in time, but it's good for him. And there's also one of the students. Our students come from, a lot of them come from the US. And I've just given this talk earlier this week, also to a school in on the East Coast. And we also get students from some European countries, as well as Australia and New Zealand and Canada. And we're also now looking at students wanting to come in from China. So we do this program several times, and particularly during your summertime. May to about September is the core time that we do this. And as I said earlier, when there's a problem, we get involved in it. Like in this case, this calf, the guy there, he's a veterinarian right up in the north, close to the northern border with Zimbabwe. And we happen to be there to visit areas, a little reserve up there. And then, you know, he was coming to talk to us and he said, well, I can't come right now because I got this problem. He's got a calf that this guy brought in, and that calf has been attacked by a leopard, and you can see the marks on his neck, and he had to do, you know, stitch this animal up. It's unfortunately survived it, but this is the kind of stuff that you cannot predict beforehand. Here, at another reserve further south, we were doing game capture for relocation. And the next thing what we saw was there was an injured zebra. So, and this was late in the afternoon, it was getting dark. The zebra clearly was in a bad way. His mouth was cut, and that cuts on his chest, on his body. There you see the animal, bad shape. So the owner of the reserve manager there said, well, this animal doesn't look good, we'll have to shoot it. And you know, I was there with a group of 13 students and 2 vets. And we simply decided that, no, we're going to stitch this animal up. So we put it under with some M99 that we had and started stitching this animal up, cleaning the wounds, putting disinfectant in. It was a bit of a challenge because, like you can see there, it was pitch dark. And we had to do all this cleaning and stitching with the help of a cell phone flashlight. Unusual situation, but the animal pulled through and was good after that. So that's the kind of practical stuff that you get involved with in this kind of expedition that we do. We move around, we go to this reserve, we go to Kruger National Park. There again, we get involved in the activities that they do there, like overpopulations of elephants, also the poaching of rhinos. Okay, then another module within this program of 3 weeks is a game capture course. So all the students can sit down, either there where there's a screen or outside. I always like that kind of classroom. And then we get to talk about the different kinds of dart guns that we can use and the different kinds of drugs. You can't use the same capture drug for all animals. Herbivores take different than to carnivores. So once the theory is understood, the students get a chance to participate in capture operations that need to be done out there. We do not capture or dart any animals just for the sake of demonstration. So there are actions that need to be done. There's always animals that need to be darted or immobilized for the reason of either transportation, that means relocating to another reserve, or it need to be caught for maybe the treatment for some reason, might have a little injury or whatever. But that's what we do. We just pitch in when the animal needs to be darted. We don't go around and just do it for the fun of it. So there you see the giraffe. In this case, a whole group, a little herd of buffalo have been darted. And that is because in the northeast of this country, in South Africa, the TB, bovine tuberculosis, is pretty much prevalent amongst the buffalo. And we wanted to test how many of them do have it. Many of these buffalo, they carry the TB, but they don't actually show symptoms. And then that's how that spreads in the herd. So we darted this group and then put a Hessian kind of plastic cloth around them. That is just to keep predators and hyenas away, because, you know, if they see buffalo lying down, this is, as they say, there's no such thing as a free lunch. They'll go come right in and want to start eating on it. So we protect them and do the test. That is the skin interferon test. We inject a little bit and then you check after a while to see whether there's any swellings. Okay, then the students also do, as part of this chemical game capture module, actually handle a dart gun like that lady is doing there. First, just to feel how it is to dart with the dart gun, because most veterinarians out here at some point in time is going to have to dart animals. And then also take the students up in a helicopter, and then they must shoot a moving target. But once again, that moving target isn't an animal. You're not going to use an animal as a dartboard. We take a big bale of hay and tie it on the back of a pickup truck, and this pickup truck then winds through the bush as if it's an animal running away, and you must get your dart on the target on the hay. If you hit the bullseye, you win a couple of years. Okay, so each student then also gets the opportunity to go up into this helicopter, fly around, and then locate the target and shoot. Okay, I mentioned rhino poaching. If you look at this picture, you can see that we've experienced over the past 8 years a tremendous increase in the poaching, killing of rhinos for the reason of cutting off their horn, and that gets sold at very high prices in the Far East. That's where most of them go. Smuggling, it is illegal. International embargoes, there's no legal trade in rhino horns, but this goes on the black market, it's smuggled out, and it gets sold at prices double the price of pure gold. So it's a big fight to get this down. We're losing about 1,500 in the order, between 1,000 and 1,500 every year. It's slowly getting better because the techniques that are being used for anti-poaching is beginning to prove fruitful. One of it is these dogs. You see these dogs, they've all been imported from the United States, and they're called coon dogs because they've been trained in the catching of raccoons. So these coon dogs are very good because you don't have to keep them on a leash. You just leave them, they pick up the scent of the poacher, and they run on this, and that poacher, he makes a plan. He must get up into a tree or do something. And you can then just follow the tracker because the lead dog has got a tracking device on his collar. So it's pretty easy to then get to where they are and where the poacher are. In the past 2 years, poaching incidents declined with 75% since we introduced these dogs. So very good move, that one. To prevent the poaching of the rhinos. So on the one hand, what you do is you want to prevent the poaching, but you also want to increase the possibilities of or maximizing their breeding potential. In this case, the guy there in the middle sitting there with that green thing, that's a good friend of mine, a veterinarian that specializes in the embryo transfers. So he has designed a device. He darted this rhino, and he's put this into the anus, and via the anus wall, he can then collect oocytes from this female rhino. The oocytes is then taken out and is used in vitro fertilizations. So this can speed up the whole process. It's really groundbreaking work. And whenever we're there, he gives us a talk on the methods and then demonstrates it by going out to collect these oocytes so that it can be used in the program. And for that is used one of these Olympus microscopes. Attached to it is the Eppendorf micro manipulator. It's a fantastic stuff, these. If you just look at this one, if you look carefully, you can see this is a sperm that's being collected. You can see them all swimming there. It's good quality wireless, good semen. You can see them swimming around. So that's ready for the fertilization. And how it is done then is the oocyte is cleaned and then put in a pipette and is put right in front of this fine, very fine needle that can deposit a single sperm into that oocyte. And then you get the development into 2-stage, 4, 8-stage, and you get the development of this embryo, which is then available to be implanted into female rhino. So fantastic work, especially with this very critically endangered species, one of them being the northern white rhino. Out here where we are, we have the southern white rhino. There's more of them around. But the northern white rhino is basically extinct. There's one female still left of the whole species. And that animal will be lost. However, there's now oocytes as well as sperm in good shape in storage, both here as well as in the San Diego Zoo. We work very closely with the San Diego Zoo in this whole program, hoping that we can use these oocytes after fertilization and then plant them into southern white rhinos in order to give birth to the northern white rhino species. Maybe revive the species in this way again. Right. Another action, so we prevent the poaching, we try to prevent that, we try to enhance breeding, and here's another one, we've just darted this rhino. You dart the rhino and then you sort of just give it what we call M50-50, but just half a dose. So it gets up and it's pretty groggy because, you know, for a group of students to carry that animal is not so easy. So he must use his own feet to walk. You blindfold him and then he must walk. And you can just pull him a bit on the horn and he walks excuse me, right into the crate in which he's going to be placed. And we've been moving some rhino to Texas. And out there in Texas, all we do is, our feeling is we need to have a breeding group of southern white rhinos in Texas, like in a safe deposit box. You don't know with all this poaching, where is it going to end? At this point, I'm not too pessimistic, but still, we can't take chances with a species like this. If something does go wrong, at least in Texas, where there's good habitat, and they adapt very well there to the climate, they do well, they breed, we have rhinos in safe deposit box. And because of all this poaching, and they always go for the big ones, females tend to have even bigger horns than the males. So we often, almost on a regular basis, get orphaned rhinos walking around the bush without a mother. And when they are found, those that are found when flying over the helicopter, they get rounded up and taken to a rhino orphanage. I've got a little video clip here, but you can just see them moving. I don't think you can hear anything, can you? Can you hear a sound? Oh, okay, good. Then I'm happy you can hear it. That's the sound they make when they want their milk. Haley, I can see you nodding your head. You can hear the sound?
I can hear it a little in the beginning, but it's kind of cutting in and out.
Yeah, okay. It seems to me on Zoom, a little video clip sound doesn't go too well. But anyway, we've got it. Good. So that's the rhino orphanage. So then we also move to a different area again with our big safari vehicle to other areas where there's also rhino orphanages like this one, and we assist with they always can do with volunteer help to feed animals and to clean up and feed them. You see there. And then we've also been promoting a program for more intensive breeding, like having them in bigger camps. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. We've had a group of students under the leadership of one of the academics from the Haas Business School of the University of California in Berkeley. And they came out here and they did an independent study, an unbiased study to see what can be done about this rhino poaching. As I said earlier, there's a trade ban on the horns, and they reckon this trade ban is simply failing because when you make something illegal, then you make it more sought after. So they reckon a regulated trade is going to be better and take the criminal element out of this thing. So that's one theory. You don't have to kill the rhino. That's the main thing. You don't have to kill a rhino to get the horn. The horn is like your fingernails. It just grows all the time. It grows at a rate of about 1.5 kilogram every year. And if you just cut that horn off and go and sell that, next year you're going to have another horn. So if we can have a local poor people like these guys and get a camp, put some rhinos in and teach them, and under your auspices, show them how you can breed with rhinos and sustainably harvest horn without any harm to the animal, they can get a fairly good income that will, these guys also would like to go to schools and eventually live in a better condition house than you see there in the background. So I think that's a win-win situation where you can have these people improve their lifestyle and in the same time protect and promote the well-being of rhinos. Okay, back to the orphanages. There's all sorts of animals. This is at the Maholo place, which is close to the Kruger Park. And here you see, we must get the tallest student to feed this giraffe. There's another one, a smaller one that has just come in. And when they come in, this is John, our local vet there. He's testing to see that everything is okay with this young giraffe before entering into the actual temporary quarantine facility. And they only stay there until they settle, and then eventually they get released back into the wild. These are obviously orphaned animals. It sometimes happens when the mother abandons the young guys. The mother might be chased by a predator and then they got split up and don't attempt to reach each other again. This is a pretty high-tech, you see a honey badger, and this honey badger is undergoing a CT scan. He had, as you can see on the right hand there, a broken leg. He's just being checked out to see how his progress is. And there you see a meerkat. And there's a junior edition hippopotamus. And this hippo, actually got a nice story about this one. There was an extremely serious storm out on the eastern part of the country, and the big hippopotamus somehow was washed with the river, and this little fellow got into a little bush next to the river and was just 1 day old and got totally split from the rest of the adults. So this one was brought in, and it was given, there's another honey badger, but it was given bottle, and it started getting very used to it. To get bottle fed. It actually started liking humans. When we pitched there, it's been there now for quite a while. That animal is quite big now, but it's so, in the day it comes to us and he likes his afternoon tea. That's afternoon tea he's getting there. And then he'll go off and go and join the group again. So he stays with the group and then he comes, so he mixes pretty well with hippos and with people. It's got the name Old Jessica. So Jessica, when she was smaller, she just walked into the ranger's house and just make himself very comfortable there on the couch. Okay, just a little view. Lauren, what must be done? How much time do you have?
We still have half an hour, but if you go over, that's fine also. People will probably stay, and if they can't, that's fine also. We'll have it recorded.
I want to be finished within the next 20 minutes so that we can have any question marks. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, an overview. Thank you for that. An overview then on what's happening in Africa as a continent in terms of wildlife. And this picture says 1,000 words. If you can see my pointer, on the west coast of Africa, during the period since 1970 to today, we've lost in national parks 80% of all the wildlife. So, and outside national parks, almost all. On the east coast of Africa, there's only 40% left inside national parks. Outside national parks, between 20 and 30%. So if you look at the central and northern parts of Africa, the wildlife populations have declined dramatically. That includes Kenya, Tanzania, and countries that are known to have wildlife. The numbers have diminished remarkably. However, when you look at Southern Africa, the region where we are, it's totally the different picture. Over the same period of time, the past basically 50 years, since 1970, we've experienced a net increase in the wildlife in our parks, national parks. And outside our national parks, the numbers of wildlife have increased 40-fold of what it was by 1970. So the immediate question that you can ask is, how did that come about? And I'll just allude to that shortly. What has happened then over that period, that since 1960, we had, in 1960 and between that time and 70, we had just over 500,000 head of wildlife, whereas today we have 23 million head of wildlife. And that refers back to that 40-fold increase in the numbers of wildlife. What in fact happened was that a lot of people, farmers, landowners that had cattle or goats or sheep started to protect the wildlife on their land and introduce more wildlife to such an extent that the private sector has become the major role player in the protection and conservation of wildlife. To such an extent, if you just look at the bottom line there, which says that 75% of all conservation land and wildlife now belongs to the private sector. So just 25% of the wildlife in the country is actually run by state or semi-state organizations like national or provincial or state protected areas. Now that puts a very big opening for wildlife veterinarians, wildlife support staff, wildlife nurses, because all these animals, you know, imagine you've got a ranch and let's say it's 5,000 acres and you've got 20 different species on that ranch. And then you'd like to take some, put them on the auction, because there's about 50 different wildlife auctions annually where you can go and sell and buy. And that's the good way to ensure the genetic integrity of the species. But prior to moving animals from one ranch to another, they need to be tested to make sure that they don't have diseases that could spread around. So it's a pretty active wildlife veterinary activities going on here. And it is so with the commercialization of conservation in this way, because the private landowners make their money by selling to other guys or harvesting even for the wildlife or venison meat trade. But it is so that never in the history of mankind has an animal species with a commercial value gone extinct. Okay, let's talk a little bit about predators. There you see a lion. Okay, lions, they like to catch buffalo, but if you're a single lion, you're dumb to want to try and tackle a buffalo. You might just experience a bad decline in your health. They don't like lions for obvious reasons. And this guy is making a fast getaway, ending up in a tree. That's the safest place you could get. They've got sharp nails, so they can't climb trees. This one was badly injured. As you can see there, this horn has hit the flesh right through the skin there. It doesn't seem if his girlfriends are too worried. Look at that, just checking out what's going on here. The guys here on the left. But however, this one was photographed, found, and the wound was decided to clean it up. And okay, that's great. It was quite a wound, but it was cleaned. Antibiotics put in. It was sewed up. As you see there, the skin was brought together and then injected for possible infections. And then there was a little plaster layer put over the wound. That's a very lousy tasting plaster that dries up and falls off after 2 weeks. And that lousy tasting plaster prevents the animal of licking the wound so that the wound gets time to heal. There you see it. Okay, then elephants. In Kruger Park, I think the major problem in Kruger Park is overpopulation of elephants. In fact, in this part of the country, well, in Southern Africa, every single national park, provincial park, municipal park that has got elephants have got too many. They breed well, they adapt well in different biomes. You get them in the arid areas, you get them in the more tropical areas, they're just all over the place. So we, in this part of the world, do not have population, an elephant, our population is too many. And there's all sorts of methods to try and do this. Most people object to the killing of elephants, but it has been done in the past in Kruger Park in a very successful way. We're sitting at this point with about 22,000 elephants, and that means we have about 14,000 too many in Kruger National Park. And that does have quite an impact. You know, elephants are ecosystem engineers. Like you can see there, they push over trees, they eat a bit of the leaves and let the rest go there. So they're engineers, and they can really transfer a woodland into a grassland. And that has got all ecological ramifications, which might, on the one hand, benefit grass eaters, but the bird population and other browsers like giraffe are very badly affected if this kind of thing happens. And the mission of a national park is to protect all the species in a park, not to only protect one major species to the detriment of the others. You must have a balanced approach and sort of protect nature as it was. Okay, these guys are pretty nifty. Where there's small fences like around some farms, they could easily just walk right through this fence, but no, they don't want to make the rangers mad. They just gently step over the fence without even touching it, like this guy does. Yeah, look at that. So no harm is done, and he's just over, and now he's into another area. So they're nifty. Okay, this elephant doesn't have bad temper. He's just got, his ear is itching and his belly is itching. But if you're a tourist in a place, this is probably some foreigner with a Avis car or some rental car. You should never get yourself into that situation. If that elephant gets too near your car, get the hell out of there. Okay, now, to come back to the overpopulation of elephants, we have, it's quite an elaborate process to do something about it. And there's various ways. You can look at the vasectomy, go and vasectomize the males or some of the leading males. You could look at immunocontraception. You can look at chemical castration by using gonadotrophin, the releasing hormone, vaccines. And the one that I like best is to round up elephants and move them out of the country into those countries where there's very few left. Because as you saw on that other slide, we've got plenty down here, but in the rest of Africa, there's very little that are still left, very few. But here's an example of what you want to do if you want to do a vasectomy. You need a dart with proper stuff in it. You need a proper veterinarian. You need a helicopter. So there's quite an elaborate process. And then to bring the elephant down, once you get it down, you need a truck with a hydraulic crane to lift the elephant up and then turn it around. Like you can see there, now that would be your position to do the surgery. Now bear in mind with an elephant, and you might not realize that most mammals, males, the testis is on the outside of the body, like a scrotum. But in the elephant, it's inside the body. In fact, if you can see that cursor there, this one that's hanging with his feet dangling down, the testis sits right up there on either side of the vertebral column. So you're going to have to get there if you want to do a vasectomy. And that's not so easy. So you're going to use a laparoscopic technique. You're going to make a little hole on the side and then put in a tube with a camera and a light so that you can find your way with a second instrument that can actually snip the vas deferens on 2 different places and then take it out. You don't just snip it on one spot, because if you do it on one spot, then it's going to regrow. The one, it's going to go boom. But if you cut there and take the tissue in between out, they do not regrow. Then you've got a permanent vasectomized elephant. And there you see then the monitor on which you look. And there's the testicle, and there's the vas deferens. And that's how, if you look at the top right corner, there you enter the animal, and eventually you bring out this piece of vas deferens tissue. Right, this is just a little video showing how you go around inside and what the view is like on the screen when you do this kind of intervention. And afterwards, just sew up the little cut, and this elephant is fine. Now you can go and have a swim, he's good. I refer to the GnRH chemical, that is a vaccine that has been developed in this country against the production of GnRH, which is gonadotrophin releasing hormone. Now, this hormone is released from the hypothalamus. From the hypothalamus, it's released, and that GnRH then influences the anterior pituitary gland to produces the luteinizing hormone and the follicle stimulating hormone. Now, those 2 hormones, they stimulate testosterone production and everything that is associated with testosterone. So if you can downgrade the production of GnRH, the knock-on effect is that you're going to get a decline in sperm production. And if you continue like over 2 years with every few months an injection of that vaccine, you can get a sterile elephant. So that's got it's still an experimental stage, but it seems to be working fairly okay. So it's got the potential. The name of it is Improvac. That's a registered name for the GnRH vaccine. Okay, now let's see, where are we? Okay, immunocontraception. Now we're looking at the females. Like with the vasectomies, you just cannot do this with a huge population. We're talking 14,000 elephants too many. It's impractical. It's more practical if you've got small groups like 100, as you can see there. And with immunocontraception, it's much easier. You don't actually have to handle the elephant. You just dart the elephant with a substance that we call PZP, that is the pig zona pellucida. So what's happening is when pigs are, you go to these slaughterhouses, you can collect the transparent protein layer around the zona, in the zona pellucida, which that protein is around the eggs in the zona pellucida. And that protein in pigs is very much similar, but not identical to the protein layer around in the zona pellucida of the elephant. So and that is used as a vaccine. So you get some of that from the pig, injected into the elephant, and then it lies around the eggs in the zona pellucida of the live elephant. It ends up there, and when the sperm comes in, it cannot. Whereas the correct one attracts the sperm, but the wrong one prevents the sperm of entering the ovums. And that's the basis of immunocontraception. So everybody, the students that are there, the assistant handling this elephant, they even got, because if you can get close, you can put that dot right in, and it's a pretty good way to do it. But as I say again, if you have a small population, if you have 14,000 too many elephants spread over about 6 million acres, it's not going to work so well. The last option then was relocating. I was personally directed a whole program to move elephants from South Africa into the northern parts of Angola, where they went into a reserve that became void of wildlife because of a serious civil war they had over a period of 27 years. And so relocation is, of course, good. Take from where there's many to where there's nothing. And there's, you see the release of one of those elephants. We took them in containers inside huge Russian cargo airplanes. The roads were just such, and the distance too far to even consider doing it by road. So doing it by air went well. Okay, another aspect then is disease management. Well, in terms of the ecological management of habitat for wildlife, if you want to prevent wildlife getting diseases, make sure your habitat is in good shape. Do not overgraze. Make sure that you have occasionally fires, which is excellent for parasite control. So you must manage your habitat. When you move animals, test them. You must breed only disease-free buffalo. Put them in quarantine. When you move buffalo, they're very popular. Buffalo are very popular animals on the private game reserves. Okay, then lastly, we started last year. I've now shown all the terrestrial wildlife. We are also now starting, we did the first two last year, and that is doing an EcoLife marine biology expedition. And that is all along our northeastern coast. That's the the Indian Ocean you see there. Beautiful unspoiled beaches. And our groups go out there and with local communities do surveys, studies, and support initiatives for the protection of the marine life along this coast. It's very undocumented coastline. There's decent fish, and the locals at times, these are big sardine catch. So it's becoming a very popular program. It's also like the EcoLife, the Vets in the Wild. This is just like the Vets in the Sea. They all go there and have a good time on the beach. Okay, and then I'd want to invite you all, come out here, join us, write to us. I know right now, for us, life is a bit boring because due to the COVID-19, there's not many students from the US moving outside to other study abroad programs. But we hope that this situation will be good within the next couple of weeks. So come and join us and make a contribution, not only to your own baseline knowledge, but also to the well-being of African wildlife. You can write to me personally if you wish, if you want more information. There you see my email address. If you say you're from the California Polytech, I'll know I had a chat with you. Then we can communicate. And then, as I said earlier, there's our website. If you go on the website and you'll go to the gallery, you'll see all the previous programs we had last year and the year before, etc. There's a lot of photographs, video clips that some of the students made. And you can exactly see what it all is about. So with that word, I'd say thank you very much. And if we've got a few minutes left, is there anybody that would like to ask any questions? You're most welcome.
Yeah, I had a quick question. So I know you said that right now you aren't getting a lot of students from the US because of COVID. Do you guys have like a timeline for when you think students might be allowed to return, or is it mostly up to like government regulation and things like that?
Yeah, well, right now we have much less incidents of COVID-19 in this country than you seem to have in the US. I follow in the news in the US, you're on the brink of a bit of an upswing now, or maybe you're on the crest of that upswing. Let's hope it is so. Yeah, indications are that it will go down. So tourists do come into our country now, very limited though, but there's a list of countries that are excluded. And at this point, the US is excluded. Like the UK, it's also in a bad shape. Spain, quite a number of the popular European countries are also on the list, but they don't move around. It comes both ways, you know. The US wouldn't want people to really move out there at this point. I don't think anybody can just jump on an airplane and fly to Brazil or one of these countries. It's not so easy. So, but we're all positive that that it will sort itself out. Maybe the whole world will develop a herd immunity in due course. That seems to almost be not a far-fetched theory. I'm confident that your summertime, which is our wintertime, that things will be back to normal and we will be receiving students. We have a group book that are coming in April from the Russ University, and all veterinary students. They come in two groups. One group will do the wildlife, and the other group will do the marine. So, and they booked and they're coming. They're not flying via continental USA because they're out there in the Caribbean. They're on that island, Caribbean island, that university. Okay, and another questions?
Is there like an application process on the website?
Oh, absolutely. If you've got like that, yes. If you go on the website, right at the bottom end of the website, there is an application form. You just fill in your details, like, you know, your address, etc. And then you just email that. And if you want me to send you an application form directly, just send me an email and I'll pop it off to you. And then you can choose from, in your summertime, I think we have about 6 of these programs scheduled. During the whole of the year, there's about 15 scheduled, because the Southern Hemisphere countries like New Zealand and Australia, they come in we've got the summertime at the same time, because we're both in the Southern Hemisphere. So then they come between November and February. So there's a lot of them coming. In fact, there's schools like New York State. They come every year just after Christmas. So part of their New Year celebrations is right there in the bush. And it's always a fun group. Sometimes gets quite hot at that time of the year, but then you go for a swim. Okay, so application forms on the website, or just pop me an email and I'll send it to you, okay? Lauren, are you happy?
I am. Thank you so much. I also am recording the meeting and I wrote down your email and the website. So I'll send out a recap, you know, tomorrow, either later tonight or tomorrow. So if people didn't write this down and they're interested in it, or they want to, you know, think about it later, I know it's probably an amazing opportunity. I haven't had a chance to do it myself, but that's everything you've said has been really cool. But yeah, this has been great. Any other questions from anyone else? Okay, well then I think that's about it for today. Thank you so much.
I wish you all success in your studies. Stay healthy, wear your face masks, and be good. You've got a beautiful place out there. I've been on your campus. Nice place. We've had Cal Paul students out here on these programs in the past. So whoever comes won't be the first one.
Yes, I'm sure once everything gets, you know, figured out, or maybe we have herd immunity, I'm sure the next president will want you coming back next year as well, if that's possible.
Fine. Always nice to have a chat with the folks from California. When I say goodbye, I might even catch up another hour of sleep. It's only 5:30 now.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much for coming. Okay. I have a great day.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thanks.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Nice talking to you. Bye.
Thank you.
There's Alexander. See, it's not an all-female class.
Yeah.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Our day just started. Goodbye.
Actually, I have a question. If you still,
I'm still here.
Just with as far as because of COVID-19 and everything, will there be an update on the website when people from the United States will be allowed to apply?
No, that you know, these things are looked at on a day-to-day basis.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as the US experience a decline in the infection rate,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, the World Health Organization would also then say, okay, it is more safe for US people and students in particular to move outside of the country's borders. We will simply accept that and let them come in. Okay. So at this point, say you don't have a sort of looking glass to see what's going to happen in the future. But the present indications are that by early next year, it should be fine. We do have, and you'll see that also on the right on the introductory part of the website, we have an elaborate process that we will do. We'll have like hand sanitizers on each vehicle, and you know, make sure that, and also, you know, with the groups, we're out in the bush. It's when you're out in the cities and go into bars and get in close contact with all sorts of people, that's where you transmit. But with a group of students that all test negative, you're going to have to test negative prior to leaving the US. You're going to be in a group and we're going to be out in the sticks. So the chances to pick it up, and we make precautions with hand sanitizers and face masks when necessary. I think the chances to pick it up here is just about zero.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just wondering, I guess, like timeline wise, would it make sense to wait until next year to kind of see how things are going before applying?
Yeah, you can apply like early next year, like say December, January. And what you can do is you can book a place, and then we reserve your place, and then you're required, like I think within 3 months prior to the departure, to pay up the deposit. So you're not really bounded. And we have, the situation this year was that we had programs having to start in June and in July. And then, you know, the COVID just caused total havoc, resulting that the students couldn't come. The borders were closed, like your border, the US also closed. And we simply, those that have paid their deposits, we just returned the deposits. We gave them an option. They could either postpone to this coming year, to 2021, or we returned the deposits. And there was some, I said, most of the students that had bookings opted to postpone with 1 year. And those that said, well, we're finishing, we're going to go and work now, we send the deposit simply back. It stays, the deposit stays in our account with PayPal, and it's very easy from PayPal just to return the funds.
Thank you so much.
Fine. Melody.
Yes, thank you.
You studying veterinary, or you pre-vet?
Yeah, I'm pre-vet.
Good. My experience over the years, we've been doing these programs for some 21, 22 years already. The pre-vet students get very sort of inspired by this program and this work we do. Many want to come back. In fact, we've got quite a number of students that came back after qualifying to come and do veterinary work for a number of years on the wildlife.
I know, it seems cool, and that's not an opportunity you get every day. So I think it's something cool.
Yeah, you know, the nice thing of this program, there's some other guys that also do this, but then it's an individual vet that's on one place. You're going to meet at least maybe 10 different vets doing different stuff in different places. So you get a much wider experience and pick up all these contacts. If you ever want to come and do like an internship, you know these guys. Now in the design and development of the first wildlife hospital in Africa. I just had a meeting yesterday. I'm on the board of the design of this hospital. It's going to be out in the bush, but even if you looked at the slides that I showed you, whenever there's some clinical aspect that need to be done on an animal, you sit under a tree or you sit on the grass doing it. But if you have it under clean conditions, and it's not so comfortable, you must now sit on your knees in the grass to work on an animal, like that zebra, for instance. It could easily be transported to a proper wildlife hospital where you can, under clinical conditions, do this. and all the top-notch surgeons and vets in wildlife is on the board in the development of this new hospital. So we're all looking very much forward to that, and the students that then come after this has been established all will spend at least 2 or 3 to 4 days in this dedicated wildlife hospital.
That sounds really nice.
Okay, Melody.
Thank you. It was nice to meet you.
The nice thing about this Zoom is you can see every student's name. You know, normally when I teach, and then you have a class full of students, then you remember all their names. But with Zoom, you can read it. That helps.
If you forget, it's right there.
Okay, Maya, take care.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was such a great presentation.
You're the 3 that's left on the screen. Okay, Lauren, if it's good with you, I'm gonna head out, make a cup of coffee.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I was just staying along until everyone had their questions answered. So, because I think when I leave the meeting, it ends. So I'm good. Thank you again so much. I'm gonna share all this information with the students who weren't able to come tonight.
I'll make some coffee and feed the cat.
Yes. All right, bye.
Bye.